So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who don't know, the United States Central Command, the military organization in charge of dealing with the Middle East, said that they conducted strikes in self-defense, and this will have no impact on this will have no impact on peace negotiations. The thing that jumps out to me very quickly, Sam, and let me explain what they did. They were talking about there were fast attack craft that were dropping mines, laying out mines, and they had to take them out in order to protect themselves. They also took out some shore batteries that had air assets that could shoot down our manned flight apparatuses, whatever. And that's fine. That's dandy.
Sure.
But understand, how is it, Sam, would you expect to be able to have a negotiation on peace when you are constantly getting just hit upside the head consistently? It's like you're in a schoolyard and the bully is telling you, I want to talk about peace, but you're consistently getting slapped in the face. He says he wants to talk about peace. How would that affect how you view what's going on in your little negotiation?
I mean, Bobby, this is the question I have for you, because it doesn't seem like an actual authentic strategy. I think right there's a sort of burn it all strategy of bombing your opponent into compliance, right? This isn't that. This is a continuous sort of bombing. It feels like it's meant to show strength or might, which in their world seems like it ought to translate to better negotiation, a stronger hand at the table. It's not, and they don't have a strong hand. They have no hand. And Rubio said we're days away. I should show that clip, and then I want to get your take on what is that strategy.
Anything with something like take a couple of days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word, sentence. So we'll have to work through that.
Yeah, that we're a couple of days away, and we had this guy saying this.
Heard about this deal? Would you support?
Hold on, our assets are running weird.
It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not too far away from where Pompeo is, to be honest with you, and I support what Chairman Wicker says. Look, we were told about 11 weeks ago by Hegseth and the Department of Defense that they had obliterated Iran's defenses, and it was just a matter of time before we had the nuclear material. Now we're talking about a posture where we may accept the nuclear material remaining in Iran. How does that make sense at all? Also, a 60-day ceasefire and expecting that they're going to clear the Strait of Hormuz before the terms of the deal are established also seems questionable to me. There are a lot of things that need to be explained. And as I've said before, any agreement with Iran that isn't subject to ratification by Congress is I think, going to be doomed to fail, just like the agreement we're trying to replace, which was the failed agreement by Obama.
And there we have it.
Well, number one, it's amazing. These Republicans who have announced that they're not running for re-election, all of a sudden are doing their congressional duty. I think that's quite amazing, even though it's delayed. That being said, he's 100% right about his take. I guess my thing, what has changed fundamentally since the first week of this conflict that makes Rubio say that, hey, we're days away from an actual agreement? And then on top of that, how is this agreement going to be better than what existed prior to February 28th? Those are the two major questions that I need to have answered that I don't think he can answer.
No, I mean, go ahead.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. If the United States agrees to a deal in the next week, let's just call it that, the next week, I guarantee you it is going to be a worse deal than we had before we started this at the end of February. The other thing that I can guarantee is this: from now on, the New World Order will be Iran gets in international affairs. Their nuclear deterrent is the Strait of Hormuz. That deterrent did not exist prior to February 28th. Okay. When I've said this before and I'll say it again, when we talk about nuclear deterrence, we talk about countries that have nuclear weapons. None of them have ever been overthrown, either from outside forces or internal forces. That's how powerful nukes are on the global stage, which is why countries fight to get them. Iran has been denied that capability and has stumbled upon the capability of, oh my gosh, we control the world's economy. And they never would have really thought that through. They had theories, but they never really would have thought that through until they were forced to do this. And so now their nuclear deterrent is different than every other country that has a nuclear weapon. You know why? Because theoretically, if a nuclear weapon is detonated in Tel Aviv, Moscow, Paris, London, DC, you know what? The nuclear fallout is only going to really affect that country. When Iran hits their nuclear button, which is shutting down the strait permanently, the entire world will feel the effect. The entire world order is thrown into disarray. And so why would they give up that newly found power, especially to a country and a man who's gone out of his way to, in their minds, pick on them? Why would they? Why would they? So that's where we are when I'm like, okay, Rubio, make that work. Tell me how that works.
So what's Iran's play right now? What do they do?
This is what I think Iran's play is. They're going to get, not ask for it, they're going to get an easing of economic sanctions. They're going to get some form of reparations. And thanks, Teresa. And on top of that, they're going to establish a new world order that in order to extract their natural resource, oil, from where they are, you're going to pay a surcharge to do it, either in a toll operated between them and Oman, which those negotiations are taking place and they're still ongoing, or their restriction of the oil flow, which will make the demand go up and everybody pays a higher price. It may be a combination of both, but make no mistake, they feel wrong because they've been bombed repeatedly, right? They feel betrayed that their neighbors helped the United States do it. And they want the West in particular to suffer, even though most NATO countries are like, hey, we got nothing to do with this. They have a blanket way of looking at this, and I don't blame them, right? So Iran's play is, you're going to pay to rebuild us. You're going to pay a permanent price moving forward, and you're going to respect us because we have our hands on our version of a nuclear weapon. That's the way forward. And we're going to give it to them because we as Americans will not be able to deal with $6, $7, $8 per gallon gas permanently. That's it.
So let me ask, what does Trump, what token can Trump bring back and say, this is what we got? Is there anything?
Yeah, well, me personally, I don't think so. I don't think so. This is what he's going to do, because I've been trying to figure this out for the longest. How is he going to sell this to the American people? He's going to say, we reduced their missile inventory. That's the first thing he's going to say. We've wiped out their Navy. We've wiped out their Air Force. And then he's going to say, basically, that they do not have the capability to create a nuclear weapon, even though the enriched uranium will still be there, right? Even though there are no sanctioned inspectors who go allowed into the country. He's going to say, based on our intelligence and this, that, and other, which goes right in line with Tulsi Gabbard being forced to resign, the director of national intelligence, this past week. Because in order to sell this lie, the intel people have to be in on there, or have to be in and back this. When they were asked by Congress before this all started, they were like, no, we don't believe that's the case, that Iran's going to have nuclear weapons. Now, to sell the lie, they got to get Tulsi Gabbard out the way and try to put someone in there who will lie and say, yeah, we took out the nuclear capability, blah, 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 but we haven't done a goddamn thing. That's what
it's going to be it's going to be tough when the intelligence agencies of other countries step forward and say, no, it's bullshit. The nuclear capacity was, never existed in the way the United States claims that it existed.
Right.
Patrick in the chat says basically something like, we might be the house in the casino, but it's a Trump casino, so we're losing.
Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to be set up to win, and no matter what is happening, we're losing. And they can sit there and talk about military success. Are you still paying $6, $7, $8 for gas? Can you pull any of your ships into anywhere in the Persian Gulf? Can you land your planes confidently in the theater without worrying about them being shot at? So please, again, I'm a basic dude. When it comes to military stuff, I'm a basic bitch. Please explain to me how that's winning. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. And I can't find anybody to give me a coherent answer of how that means you're winning.